Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Do you know who I am? Nope. Still don't. It was just a regular Thursday morning. I was walking to the metro, earbuds in, coat zipped halfway because the weather couldn't make up its mind. You know that damp, not quite warm, not quite cold kind of morning where your body can't tell if it's sweating or freezing? That. Anyway, everything felt normal until I heard someone yelling ahead of me. I paused my music, looked up, and saw this guy, maybe early 30s, backing away from a much shorter woman who was absolutely losing it on him. Full volume. "You've been following me since you were in the Albert Heijn. What's wrong with you?" The guy looked flustered, but he was trying to keep it together. Still, she wasn't letting up. "How rude! Do you know who I am?" And that's when my mouth opened before my brain could stop it. "Why don't you tell us?" I blurted out. Immediately regretted it. They both turned to look at me. The guy seemed surprised, maybe even a little amused, but the woman, she looked at me like I'd just kicked her imaginary designer dog. She turned toward me like a pigeon squaring up for war. "My husband is," insert name I didn't recognize, "and he's a very famous accountant at some generic financial company with an "and" company in the name. You know the type." I just stared at her. "Okay, that's who your husband is. Who are you?" She blinked hard, like I'd slapped her with a philosophical crisis. But she doubled down. "My husband got a promotion last month because he helped secure the quarterly—" I cut her off. "Cool, that's what he did. What about you? What have you done that makes you important?" At that point, the guy standing there actually snorted. Then, deadpan as hell, he goes, "Yeah, tell us, Whoppy." For context, Whoppy's kind of like the Dutch version of Karen, but with a little extra conspiracy theory energy thrown in. And that was the moment she cracked. Her mouth opened, then closed again. She turned red, then white, then red again, like a malfunctioning traffic light trying to reboot. So I tilted my head, dropped my voice, and asked again, calmly this time, "Seriously, who are you? Not your husband, not his job, you. What makes you important?" She stood there for a second, arms folded, face frozen like someone just asked her to do algebra without a calculator. "Let me think for a second," she muttered. So we waited. She actually stood there and tried. You could almost hear the gears grinding, but little by little, something shifted in her posture. The outrage drained away. She didn't look mad anymore, just lost. And then, without a word, she turned around and walked off. No dramatic exit, no snarky comment, just left, like a balloon with the air let out. The guy and I stood there in silence for a beat before I turned to him. "Sorry for jumping in, probably should have minded my business." He shook his head, still grinning. "No, seriously, thanks. She's been following me since the store. I think she wanted to catch me doing something shady or just cause a scene. You shut her down better than I ever could." I shrugged. All I did was ask a question. "Exactly," he said. She couldn't answer it. We chatted for a minute, then went our separate ways, but I kept thinking about her. Not in an angry way, just curious. She was so confident, so loud, right up until someone asked her to define herself without name-dropping or piggybacking on someone else's accomplishments. And when she couldn't, something cracked. I don't know what her deal was or why she zeroed in on that guy, but her face in that moment, the exact second she realized she had nothing to say for herself, that stayed with me. Maybe next time she wants to scream at strangers in public, she'll have an answer ready. Or maybe she won't. Either way, I haven't seen her since. This reminds me of the classic, "Do you know who my father is?" "Nope, but didn't your mama tell you?" And our second story. Chef said, "Free dinner if you beat your record." Over 2 decades ago, my wife and I kept our little boat docked at a lake just a short drive from our house. It was our weekend escape. Nothing fancy, just peaceful water, good company, and great food. The marina had a small restaurant that was known for one glorious thing: all-you-can-eat fried catfish. Now, when they said fried catfish, they didn't mean fancy fillets or nuggets. These were whole catfish, crispy, golden, and just about the size of a grown man's hand. Fried to perfection and served hot with hush puppies and coleslaw on the side. My wife and I were regulars there, probably ate there 3 or 4 times a month for about 3 years straight. We loved it. But I especially loved the challenge of pushing myself to see how many catfish I could eat in one sitting. At some point, I became a bit of a local legend. I'd set the house record, 17 whole catfish in a single meal. Pete, the owner and cook, was always both impressed and horrified. He used to joke, "You're at capacity, man. Ain't no way you're beating that." It became a running gag every time we visited. Now, fast forward to my birthday one year. My wife and I had about 10 family and friends in town, and we decided to bring everyone down to the marina for dinner. Of course, I couldn't help myself. Fueled by a little birthday ego and maybe a couple of beers, I loudly declared, "Tonight's the night. I'm breaking my record." Pete heard it from the kitchen. You could hear the laughter and cheering ripple through the room. Everyone was excited to see if I could actually do it. Pete came out, drying his hands on his apron, and with a big grin said, "All right, if you beat your record tonight, the whole table eats free. Drinks, food, on the house." The crowd erupted. What a birthday gift, right? Then Pete leaned in with a smirk and added, "But if you fail, you got to give Gail and Debbie, our two fantastic servers that night, a 25% tip each." Now let me be clear. Gail and Debbie absolutely deserved that and more. They were fast, friendly, and had put up with our loud group with grace. But 25% for both? That was a hefty bet. Still, I was feeling confident. The table raised their beers and toast to the challenge. Pete nodded and disappeared back into the kitchen. Then came the moment of truth. Out he came with the first plate for me, and I use the term loosely because what he brought out wasn't a platter of fish. It was one fish, one giant, whole 5-pound behemoth of a catfish, fried to golden perfection. It looked like something out of a fishing competition, not a dinner order. I stared at it. Everyone stared at it. Then the room burst into laughter. Still feeling confident, Pete asked, laughing along with us. I gave it my best shot, really I did, but I couldn't even finish that one fish. I tapped out, absolutely stuffed, maybe halfway through. Pete had completely flipped the script on me, and it was brilliant. I took my defeat with as much dignity as I could muster between bites and belly aches. Gail and Debbie got their well-earned 25% tips. Everyone had a blast. And despite my failure, it was one of the most fun birthday dinners I've ever had. And Pete, he never let me live it down. Every time we came back, he'd point at the fryer and say, "Ready for a rematch?" Pete passed away last year, and I still think about him and that night. He was more than just a cook. He was a showman, a joker, and a great friend. That catfish prank was peak Pete, and I'm glad he got such joy out of retelling the tale for years. So here's to you, Pete. I never messed with your menu again. I bet Pete had an inkling you had family in town and noodled a few 5-pounders just in case. And it took only one. Regardless, I so appreciate the retelling of what clearly was a memory for so many fine folks. And our last story. They fired the only people who knew how their system worked and told them to wipe all backups. A former employer of mine has decided to shoot themselves in the foot, not with a pistol or a warning shot, but with a full-on bazooka. And honestly, it's been a joy watching the fallout from the sidelines. So buckle up, because this is the story of corporate arrogance and a catastrophic short-sightedness. This company had developed its own in-house software system over the span of 2 decades. It was a monstrous, sprawling piece of code that touched every single aspect of business operations. We're talking invoicing, stock management, automated billing, report generation, internal tracking. Basically, if it needed doing, the software did it. Or at least it could do it if you knew how to wrangle it. Because the software had grown so massive and complex, the company ended up with 3 different IT departments to handle it. First, there was the general IT team that dealt with hardware and user complaints, things like "my printer won't connect" or "I spilled coffee on my keyboard." Then came the middle-tier techs who could troubleshoot issues within specific sections of the software, basically patching leaks as they popped up. And finally, there was the legacy team. The legacy team was made up of a handful of software veterans, folks who'd been with the company since the system's birth and had nurtured it through every mutation and patch since. They didn't just understand the software, they were the software. If something deep in the back end broke, if an obscure function misfired, or if a part of the code base needed to be delicately untangled like a plate of spaghetti, these were the people you called. Naturally, senior management decided they were unnecessary. Their logic? We're developing a brand new system to replace the old one anyway. It'll be ready in a year or so. Just let the legacy team go now and save some money. Brilliant, right? To make matters worse, they didn't just let the legacy team go quietly. They demanded that their large office be completely vacated and repurposed. This included removing everything, dozens of large filing cabinets stuffed with critical documentation, internal process manuals, historical repair logs, annotated diagrams of system architecture, patch history, and years of troubleshooting notes. Every version of how to fix X written by the people who actually fixed X. Sensing the danger, the legacy team asked for confirmation. "Are you sure you want us to destroy all this?" they wrote, carefully and professionally. Eventually, a terse reply came back from senior leadership. "Yes, destroy all paperwork, delete all digital files, wipe your machines. We need the space." So they did. Shredders ran hot, drives were erased, laptops were wiped to factory settings. By the end of the week, every trace of the legacy team's knowledge had been scrubbed from existence like they were trying to win a corporate version of witness protection. And then they walked out the door, calmly, professionally, and without a single lingering footprint behind them. Fast forward 3 months. A minor power outage causes a system-wide hiccup. Not a huge deal, right? Wrong. The rebooted system's now broken in a very specific but crucial way. The company can no longer add items into inventory. That means the invoicing system has nothing to bill for. That means the automated billing system has nothing to charge. That means revenue grinds to a screeching halt. Cue the panic. Staff are now manually tracking inventory using printed spreadsheets. Invoices are being typed up one by one in Word templates. Payments have to be cross-referenced and reconciled manually against handwritten logs. Overtime's piling up just to keep up with normal demand, and departments that once ran smoothly are now looking like the back end of a 1994 Radio Shack. So, of course, they reach out to the legacy team. Every member gives the same answer. "Without the manuals, we don't know how to fix it." Because here's the thing. The legacy team didn't memorize 20 years of system evolution. They documented it, and they were told explicitly to erase every last bit of it. Now, the new system, the one they were oh so confident would be ready in a year or so, is still at least a year away by their own updated estimates, which, let's be honest, probably means 2. The cherry on top, the 2 senior managers who pushed for this move now share the nice big office that used to belong to the legacy team. So at least they have somewhere spacious and quiet to sit in while they watch their empire burn down in slow motion. To the rest of us watching from a distance, this is your friendly reminder that when you fire the people who actually know how things work, you might also be firing your only chance at recovery when things break. Congratulations, management, you played yourself. When someone asks you, "Are you sure?" you better think really hard before going on with your idea. Things are not going the way you think they're going. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.